Welcome you to Cry Outreach Podcast. My name is Bola Jordan, also called Brother Bo or the Radical Disciple. If this is your first time of coming across my channel, I'd like to welcome you. It will be my great pleasure if you decide to join and be a subscriber of this channel so that next time I release any message, you will be one of the first people to get the notice of the message. I will be starting on a series that I called A Virtuous Woman. And this is going to be in 3 parts. So if you're listening to this, this is the first of the 3 parts. This is the first episode of The Virtuous Woman. And I will be speaking today on the adorning of a woman. How adornment or adorning makes a woman virtuous. I'm going to be starting off with a reading from the book of Proverbs chapter number 12 and verse 4. It says, "A virtuous woman is a crown to her husband." And in Proverbs chapter number 31 and verse 10, it says, "The price of a virtuous woman is far above rubies." In the New Testament, Apostle Peter also talks about another distinct characteristic that makes a woman virtuous. That is in 1 Peter chapter 3 from verse 3. "Whose adorning, let it not be the outward adorning of plaiting the hair and of wearing of gold and of putting on of apparel, but let it be the hidden man of the heart, in that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of God a great price." Before I continue to explain that passage, I'd like to say that no woman is born a virtuous woman. A virtuous woman is made through a godly character and behavior to own husband and home. Now, it's very important to stress own husband and home. If you read through the old chapter of 1 Peter and also some other epistles, while talking about women submitting to men, the emphasis is always on own husband. So, now, according to the 1 Peter chapter 3 where we read, there are 3 main ways to recognize a virtuous woman. The first one is this: by her adorning. Let me read that passage again. 1 Peter chapter 3 from verse 3. "Whose adorning, let it not be the outward adorning of plaiting the hair and of wearing of gold and of putting on of apparel, but let it be the hidden man of the heart, in that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of God a great price." In that passage, Peter mentioned 2 types of adorning. The first one is the outward adorning. He begins the verse by saying, "Whose adorning, let it not be the outward adorning." So that is the first type of adorning, the outward adorning. In the next verse, it talks about the other type of adorning. So the outward adorning consists of 3 things. Number 1, plaiting the hair, wearing of gold, putting on of apparel. But if you notice, the verse begins with "let it not be." So the adorning of a virtuous woman is not those things. And he gave us the example of the outward adorning, plaiting the hair, wearing of gold, and putting on of apparel. I'm sure the list is not exhaustible. We can actually add so many more that qualifies under the outward adorning. Any outward thing a woman uses to adorn herself does not necessarily make the woman a virtuous woman. Let's go to the second type of adorning in verse 4. It opens with, but let it be the hidden man of the heart. Let it be. Verse 3 starts with, let it not be. Verse 4 says, let it be. So let it not be the outward, but let it be the inner, that is, the hidden man of the heart. What is not corruptible? Ornament of a meek and quiet spirit. And it says that this, in the sight of God, is a great price. And that is what makes the inner adorning the adorning of a virtuous woman, because it's a great price before God. Okay, so here's a quick 2-point adorning check for a virtuous woman. Number 1, jewelries, makeup, clothes, and other adorning and other ornaments. That's the first one. That is the physical. That is the external. That is the outward adorning. Number 2, hidden man of the heart, something that is not corruptible, ornament of a gentle, humble, quiet spirit, that is a godly character and behavior to own's husband. The first one has great praise before the world, but the second one has great price before the Lord. The outward adorning has great praise, great honor, great approval by the world. But the other one, which is more abstract, which is inner, has great price before God. That's what the Bible says. So what does that mean? Great hairdo, attractive makeup, jewelries, fancy clothes, and other ornaments, material things are good for adorning. But they are too fleeting, too temporal, too deceptive, too corruptible to make a woman a virtuous woman, let alone a godly woman. Paul in 2 Corinthians chapter 4 verse 18 says, "For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal." A virtuous woman, therefore, is a woman with inner adorning of a humble, gentle, and quiet character and behavior. She is a crown to her husband. And I like what Peter says in verse 5 of chapter 3, where we're reading. It says, "For after this manner in the old time, the holy women also who trusted in God adorned themselves, being in subjection unto their own husbands." Peter was not only suggesting that a virtuous woman is a woman that has inner adorning. He made an example by saying that holy women in the old time who trusted in God, that's how they adorned themselves. Not only that, they also were in subjection to their own husband. So while the woman of the world sees adorning as physical adorning, outward adorning of plaiting the hair and putting on apparel and jewelry, holy women sees their own adorning as being in subjection to their own husband. Subjection means submitting, in submission to their own husband. And the submission is not a slavery submission, is as unto the Lord through a gentle, quiet character and behavior so strong that it can change the man without the word. These women were able to win their husband without the word through character and behavior that are godly to their own husband and to their own home. That is what makes a virtuous woman.